Welcome into the ETSN podcast. The East Texas playoff field is shrinking. That means we're getting ever closer to state championship week, which, if you can believe it, is just 3 weeks from today. I'm Clint Buckley, and I'm joined as always by Chandler Vessels. I can't believe I just said that, but it's true. Chandler, we got a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, lots of good games. You know, there's a few East Texas teams facing off against each other, so the field is definitely going to get a little thinner as we go on, but I've really enjoyed the playoff experience so far. It's lived up to everything that anyone's told me about Texas high school football playoffs, and I just can't wait as we get deeper. The games are going to get better. It's a lot of good matchups this week, so I'm ready to get into it.
Well, you kind of alluded to it. We have 5 East Texas versus East Texas matchups this weekend. We have 3 rematches from the regular season and 4 playoff rematches from last year. But before we're going to get into that, we have a couple of huge showdowns at the Class 6A level. And if everything falls into place, we could see another all-area matchup next week and another regular season rematch. And that's in the 6A Division II Region 2 bracket. And we'll start off with Lufkin against Spring Westfield. That'll be taking place at 1:30 Saturday from Texan Drive Stadium in Porter. Chandler, you've been researching this game, and you saw Lufkin last week. What do you see are kind of the big points in this one?
Yeah, Lufkin has been playing really good defense as of late and really all season long. They've allowed 7 points in their first round game and then 18 points in the game that I was at last week against Richardson Pierce. So their defense has been definitely a big factor for them so far in these playoffs. They're especially good at containing the run. They allow under 80 yards per carry or under 80 yards per game, under 3 yards per carry.
Right.
And they held that Richardson Pierce running game in check last week, which was a big deal for them after talking to Coach Quick. He said that they really look to do that heading into the game, and they understand how important it can be when a team runs the ball on you, and they were able to limit that from Richardson Pierce. So they're going to run into a tough offense this week. Spring Westfield is a very good team. They can not only run, they can pass, so this defense is going to have their work cut out for it. It's probably the best team they've faced so far in these playoffs. So that only intensifies that need to play good defense and get some stops down the stretch. Another key I think is going to be in this game after watching Lufkin play last week is their quarterback, Juan Thomas. He didn't have a very good first half, to put it lightly, last week. I mean, I believe he's like 2 of 12. Threw an interception, and just they weren't getting things done through the air really in the first half. He did get things done on the ground, Thomas that is, and along with running back Isaiah Phillips, who's been great all year. But I think if Lufkin wants to advance in this game, they're going to probably need a little bit better of a game from him. And that they can do it because they have the receivers to do it. I mean, they lost Braylon Garcia last week to a just terrible injury.
Yeah,
obviously.
that was tough.
Thoughts with him, that looked really bad, but they've still got Malik Jackson and Jalen Polk as guys that he can get the ball to. Both those guys are over 500 yards receiving this year, so Lufkin's definitely capable of moving the ball on the ground as well as through the air, but they're definitely going to need that passing game this week if they want to advance.
And then in the other half of the bracket, Longview against Klein Collins. That's at 2 o'clock Saturday from Baylor's McLean Stadium in Waco. After having seen Longview last week, that was just crazy. Just to go back quickly, 75 points, school record for a playoff game. They averaged almost 17 yards per play. That's just nuts. Dallas Jesuit had like 92 plays, and Longview had 36. And Longview wins by, 32 points? So they kind of did whatever they wanted on offense. And the first key in this one is can Longview's offense keep up that positive momentum? Because, the Klein Collins defense is pretty good. They're only giving up 8.6 points per game. Obviously, much better than Dallas Jesuit. This sounds crazy, but Longview has scored 110 points in its last 6 quarters of playoff football. They only scored 7 in the first half against Beaumont Westbrook in the first round, 35 in the second half, and then obviously 75 in the game against Jesuit last week. Are they going to be able to keep up that momentum? That's going to be an issue against a Collins defense, like I said, that's been very good all season long. The second key is, I think, whichever offense can establish its running game most effectively, I think is going to have the best chance in this one. Longview's duo of Keelan Williams and Jaquan Edwards ran wild last week. I mean, they both combined had more than 300 yards of offense and 7 touchdowns, I believe. And there are rumors abound that we might see Jesse Anderson returning to the field for Longview this week. He hasn't played since September, I believe the second or third week of the season. He has dressed out the last couple of weeks for Longview, but has not gotten into the game. And I'm hearing that there's a chance he could actually get into the game this Saturday against Klein Collins. So that would definitely be a boost for Longview's offense, especially against a defense that like Klein Collins. And then on the other side for Collins, Isaiah Spiller, their standout running back. He's only a junior. He committed to Oklahoma last week. Interesting fact about him: his dad, Fred Spiller, is a former tight end at Texas A&M, and he was kind of thought to be Isaiah was kind of an Aggie legacy type player. He was going to commit to A&M as well, but he decided to carve out his own path and commit to Oklahoma. Now he still has a few months to change his mind. I mean, he's only a junior, but he's kind of the key to Klein Collins' offense, and I think it's going to come down to which offense can get its running game going the best. I mean, I think both quarterbacks are capable of making plays on their own, like Haynes King for Longview, and then Klein Collins has a very good quarterback as well. I think Carter Ryan. But I think the difference is going to be which team has the best success on the ground, because at this time of year, typically the team that stops the run and the team that runs the best is the team that's going to be in the best position to win come playoff time. So I'm looking forward to those two 6A games on Saturday. On Friday, we got Kilgore versus Henderson round 2 in Class 4A Division I Region 3 semifinal. That's going to be at 7 o'clock Friday from Pine Trees Pirate Stadium in Longview. This is intriguing to me on many different levels. First key in this game is, can Kilgore's defense kind of continue this miraculous turnaround they've had? In the playoffs, they've given up a grand total of 9 points. They shut out Little Cypress Mauriceville in the first round, held El Campo to 9 points last week, and that's a defense that allowed 33 points per game during the regular season, including 35 in the regular season win against Henderson. And if their defense continues to play like this, I mean, they're going to be a tough out, not only for Henderson, but potentially even next week against Carthage-Silsbee winner, which we assume will be Carthage. But Kilgore's defense, they're playing well right now, playing obviously the best they have all year. They're going to need another big week this week against a Henderson team that's kind of hitting on all cylinders as well. The second point I want to make about this game is we're going to find out how much has changed in 5 weeks for Henderson. Lynn Freeney, their senior running back for Henderson, touched the ball only 6 times in the regular season game. But he's arguably been Henderson's best offensive weapon in the playoffs so far. 5 of his 11 touchdowns on the year have come the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. And Henderson on defense, they're going to have to be a lot better than they were against Kilgore in the first game. They allowed Kilgore pretty much to run at will on them. Over 300 yards, almost 11 yards per carry. It was not a pretty sight for Henderson's run defense. But on the bright side, the last 2 weeks, Henderson has been phenomenal stopping the run. Against Sealy and Navasota, their 2 playoff opponents, they're allowing less than 2 yards per carry. Obviously I don't expect them to do that against Kilgore. Mm-hmm. Kilgore's obviously, they're averaging 350 yards rushing per game. So, but I think if they can improve at least on what they did in the regular season, I think that's going to really help them. So, the 2 big keys in this one for me are, can Kilgore's defense continue to play the way they have the last 2 weeks, and how much has Henderson gotten? How much has Henderson improved since that meeting against Kilgore, the 45-35 loss? Freeney's playing at a high level, probably the best he's played at in his career, to be quite honest. And then defensively, can Henderson keep that run defense going strong against Kilgore? So looking forward to that one. I'll be there Friday night at Pine Tree. Kilgore and Henderson should be fantastic. Now on down to Class 3A Division II, another juicy matchup. We got West Rusk and Newton. That's going to be 7:30 Friday in Tatum. You'll be there, Chandler. What are you looking forward to the most out of this one?
Yeah, I'm really just looking forward to seeing these 2 defenses go at each other. They've both been among the top defenses in East Texas and really the state all year long. They're both giving up only 7.9 points per game. West Rusk has pitched 6 shutouts, and Newton is outscoring its opponents 355-11 in the last 6 games.
And all 11 points came last week.
Yeah. So before that, it was 5 straight shutouts for Newton. But this.
Sorry, are you going to see any points on Friday?
I'm sure I've gotta. Someone's got to win, but that's what it's really going to come down to is which team can score on this. On the other team's defense, which has just been great all year long. West Rusk, 154 tackles for loss, 22 sacks on the season. They've got like 3 guys in the top 5 for tackles for loss in East Texas. But, these teams do have some players on offense, especially Newton. I feel like Newton's going to have a pretty decent chance to score on West Rusk. I don't think it's going to be shutout number 7 for West Rusk this week.
That would be surprising.
They've got Tamazier Brown, who's a great receiver, but really impressive, and who has been really their main guy this year has been Darwin Barlow on offense. They give him the ball. He's got, I believe, over 1,600 yards rushing, 32 rushing touchdowns.
In 11 games. That's like 3 a game.
Yeah, he's a scoring machine, and I would be very surprised if Darwin Barlow went without a touchdown in this game. But, West Rusk has some players too, and I think what's going to be a really big key for them is getting their running game involved in this matchup too, because Jalen Garland was great for them in the regular season. He had like 6 straight games of over 100 yards rushing, and then he got injured and sat out a couple games, and he's come back and hasn't passed 100 yards since then. I don't know if he has had a few less carries since then, so I don't know if they're just sort of trying to slowly bring him back in, but if they are, this week would be the week to
take the training wheels off.
Yeah, and get him back out there so he can maybe put up another 100-yard game. That would definitely help West Rusk's chances. So whether it's him just sort of getting adjusted to come back from injury or it's something the coaches are doing, sort of saving him up for this game, he's going to need to get going if West Rusk wants to put up some points against a Newton defense that has been really tough to score on this year.
Yeah, can't wait to follow your tweets Friday night from this game. I don't know how many updates you're going to have. I mean,
probably not a lot.
You might have it's the 4th straight 3 and out forced by West Rusk defense and so on and so forth. But interested in it nonetheless. Other games this week, there are great matchups all the way down. The playoff bracket for East Texas. We got Liberty Ilo against Kaufman. How about the Leopards? They're on a roll right now.
Phillips.
Yeah, they've won 6 straight games after starting the year 1-5. And you mentioned him, quarterback Decorian Phillips. He's quietly putting together a heck of a season.
Yeah, 3,200 yards passing, 30 touchdowns so far, and a lot of it's came in the second half of the year too.
Yeah, I mean, Ilo is they're on a roll, and they have a tough test against a 1-loss Kaufman team that won that district that Van was a part of, but they're playing awfully well right now. Would not be surprised to see Liberty Ilo move on this week. Carthage against Silsbee. This is the 3rd straight year these two have met in the playoffs, and the 5th time in the last 6 seasons. So to say that these two are familiar with one another would be quite an understatement. Silsbee has not won any of those games against Carthage, so and I don't anticipate that being any different this week. Carthage is Carthage. They're 12-0. I mean, their scores, it's almost like a machine. Like every week, it's like 45-14, 48-17, 49-20. I mean, it's robotic.
Yeah.
And they're getting key contributions all up and down the roster. On offense, everyone talks about Keontae Ingram, but Gunnar Capps closing in on the 3,000-yard passing season. He's got 35 touchdown passes already. And then Ingram, of course, does what Ingram does, but then you've got Dwaylon Ingram, D. Bowens at receiver, and those two are each over double digits in touchdown catches right now. Defensively, playmakers at all 3 levels. You got Quentin Owens and Desmond Hicks up front, Darian Ingram as well. Michael Gates, Ahmad Brown at linebacker, and then the secondary, obviously, Corey Ware has had a great season, 8 interceptions, and I think 7 of them have come in 2 games. So, the Carthage is loaded, and I anticipate them having another big week this week against Silsbee. Gilmer against Melissa. This one's intriguing to me. Gilmer won this game last year in the playoffs 55-6. Something tells me this is going to be a little bit closer this time around. Melissa, 56 points last week against Rusk. Gave up 34, and then we know all about Gilmer's struggles defensively this season. So we could be seeing an epic shootout in the making between Gilmer and Melissa. They're very similarly constructed. Both have dual threat quarterbacks. Both have running backs that have kind of carried the load for them, and both have big play receivers as well. So I don't anticipate too many 3-and-outs for either team come Friday. Pleasant Grove against Salina. This is a rematch of last year's game from the same round. Salina won that one by 4 points. PG's coming in rolling. You saw them last week.
Yeah, they pretty much did whatever they wanted last week. I think they ran similar to that Longview game you were talking about. Not quite as many points scored, but they put up 56. They had 514 yards on 27 plays. So I don't know what that comes out to average yards per play, but it's pretty high. So I would expect Pleasant Grove to probably win this one pretty easily too.
Yeah, the way they're playing for sure. Down on to Class 3A Division II, New Diana against Jacksboro. This is the only 11-man game in the state taking place on Thursday, and you will be there Thursday at the Ford Center in Frisco. Contrasting styles in this one. You've got Jacksboro's power run game, which took out previously unbeaten Harmony last week, against New Diana's air raid attack, led by their quarterback Jackson Sampson, who I believe is still leading the East Texas area in passing yards by quite a bit.
Yeah. He's got like over 4,000 yards.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Jacksboro is going to want to keep the ball away from New Diana for as long as possible. So that's something to look out for in that one. Garrison against Wascom. Both offenses coming in humming this week into the game this week. Interestingly, these two teams have a combined 9 losses, which is kind of a rarity for this late in the playoffs. So both teams obviously peaking at the right time. But something's got to give. Garrison and Wascom will play, and then we'll see about next week because they'll get the winner of West Rusk and Newton. So, but Garrison, Wascom, that's entertaining as well. San Augustine and Carlisle Saturday in Carthage. You'll be there. This is another district rematch, and it's the 4th time in 2 seasons these teams have played each other. They met in the same round last year, and then it worked out last year where San Augustine, I believe, won the regular season game. Carlisle knocked them out in the playoffs. This year, San Augustine has won the regular season. Carlisle can return the favor by knocking them off. And how about Gerald Turner?
Yeah, 8 interceptions so far this year. 6 of them have come in the playoffs. He had 2 last week. In their comeback win against Kearns, 41-31 victory. They were down by 17 at one point in that game. And I've been really impressed with Carlisle. I saw them take out Groveton the week before that.
Yep.
Their defense and they're playing with a lot of injuries too, is what Coach Baker told me. And just those next guys, Turner, other guys are stepping up. Guys who have played on JV have had to give them playing time in these playoffs. It's really a great story out of Carlisle, what they're doing.
Yeah, and you always hear that saying, and it's going to be put to the test this week. It's hard to beat a team 2 times in a season, and we'll find out. Speaking of which, Grapeland and Timpson will be playing each other for the 2nd time this year, district mates. Timpson won the regular season matchup over Grapeland 44-20 and ended Bremon's run of state championships at 3 by knocking off the 3-time defending state champs 14-11 last week. That's got to give them a ton of confidence going to this one. But Grapeland's playing well too. I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected them to get as far as they've gotten. Their offense is playing really well. They put up 49 points last week. Interested in seeing how this one plays out. And, of course, the winner will get the winner of Tenaha and Iola, which means Tenaha. They have 5 shutouts on the year, including 2 in the playoffs. And the path has been cleared for them in this region with Bremon's loss last week. That's kind of been the team that's kept them from advancing deeper into the playoffs the last couple of seasons. So Tenaha, has got to be feeling pretty good about themselves as well. Well, before we get out of here, we want to give a shout-out to our offensive and defensive players of the week. First up on offense, I mentioned him earlier, Henderson senior running back Lynn Freeney. 21 carries, 220 yards, and 3 touchdowns in Henderson's 35-14 win over Sealy last week. He was the difference in the ball game. He had the 2 touchdowns in the first quarter that put him up 14-0. Had one that put him up 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and then had a long run that set up their last touchdown, which pretty much sealed the win and gave them a 3-touchdown lead. So congratulations to Henderson running back Lynn Freeney. On defense,
yeah, we have West Rusk linebacker Tyree Wilson. He had 13 tackles, 5 for loss, 2 quarterback hurries, a forced fumble, and a recovered fumble. In West Rusk's 6th shutout of the season against Buffalo, they won 35-0.
That seems just like another day at the office for him.
Yeah, I believe he's got like 37 tackles for loss this season. He's number one on the leaderboard, and he's going to need another big game this week if
Yeah.
West Russ wants to take down Newton, which is undefeated. So.
Yep. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Like always, if you have any questions or comments for either one of us, you can engage us on Twitter. I'm at Clint Buckley. He's at Chandler Vessels. And, of course, you can always follow along at ETSN.fm, our main account. And if you haven't yet downloaded the ETSN app, you're doing it wrong. It has everything you need to keep up with everything East Texas. Get it right now at the App Store or at Google Play. For Chandler Vessels, I'm Clint Buckley. We'll talk again next week.